Alright, let's go. Welcome back into the Skooshi Sport Podcast in your continuation of your NRL 2026 team previews. Oh my goodness gracious me. We have 5 teams left in 2026 for our previews heading into preseason. What are we? Literally less than 3 weeks away now from preseason kickoff. Unbelievable. I am itching. I'm just like, it just gets closer and closer. When I'm recording this, I know Supercoach opens tomorrow, which I know a lot of you guys play, and it's just so bloody exciting. I just cannot bloody wait. Got something in my nose. That's all right. But this episode here, I said we've done 12 teams. We've got the South Sydney Rabbitohs, the Red and Myrtle. I mean, this last year was just an absolute nightmare year, you felt like, for South Sydney. Decimated with injuries. I think you could honestly got at one point around mid-season where you could actually name a full 13 of players, 1 to 13 of their injured players, and it would honestly compete with a lot of NRL sides you felt like out there. It was just a bonkers year to be a South Sydney fan, part of the South Sydney club. I felt so sorry for those guys. Just left, right, and centre, copying massive injuries. Where there's Latrell, there was a Cody Walker. I think Jack Wine was injured. Like Ewan Aiken. There's anyone that you could think of. Obviously, Cam Murray was out for the whole year. Anyone that you could think of was just out. And it was just such an important part of South Sydney, and they were out, injured. But it did see the sort of surge, of, I guess, a couple young fellas, which is really cool to see, right? That's exactly what we want to see in the NRL, particularly Jai Gray. I mean, Jai Gray, I think he gets a fullback spot starting this year. I think it's absolutely awesome. Good, for a guy that's so small, I think he's actually shorter than me, and I'm a pretty short fella. He is an absolute warrior. I think he'll be an absolute star of our comp. The way he just attacks the ball and he bombs, the way he just goes about his runs, he just feels like he's a 6'5" guy inside. But the way he shows, he's just got so much bloody heart, which is what you kind of want to see from South Sydney. You just felt like for the last couple seasons, you just sort of haven't really seen that fight ever since the back half of the 2023 season, where they were top of the table and then just absolute capitulated. Just haven't seen the same South Sydney. But first year back with Wayne Bennett last year. Be interesting to see how they bounce back this year. If they stay injury-free, they could finish anywhere. Honestly, they could finish top 4. They could finish top 8. If they get injuries again, it could be a very similar season for South. But as I said, we have done up to it. This is our 13th team now. So if you're just watching this and finishing this one, and if you're a fan of Manly, you're a fan of Raiders, Wars, Cowboys, Doggies, Dolphins, Tigers, Sharkies, Titans, Dragons, Roosters, Panthers, and the Roosters. Sorry, mentioned Roosters twice in that. That is my bad. Make sure you go back and check out all the other season previews I have done for those clubs. We literally have 5 more left. I will bring out Souths and Broncos for you all at the same time tomorrow, or when I'm recording this. And then I said we've got 3 more to go after that. So that will be, I believe I've got Knights, Eels, and Storm. Honestly, a lot of these ones I've just done randomly. With 5 left, I knew I had Storm and Eels left to go. I kind of want to leave them last just because of the elephant in the room with Zach Lomax. And I just want to kind of maybe discuss it a little bit when it gets to that previews. I just want to see what happens in the next sort of week or so. At the moment, at this stage, it looks like he's probably going to Storm. I'm just not sure yet. I think we'll have a bit more sort of concrete information maybe this time next week or even the week after when I do get to those teams. But without further ado, let's get stuck into South Sydney. So last year, basically what I do, in my previews is give you my ladder prediction for the year, go through their 2025 recap, how many games they won, lost, that sort of thing, where they went wrong a little bit. Looking at the 2026 gains and their losses as well, who have they got as a gain that I think will make a difference to the club this year? And who have they lost in regards to players this year that I think will be quite a big loss heading to 2026? Then we're going to have a look at their full strength best 1 to 17 and the rest of the squad to see how deep it is. Then we're going to have a quick analysis of their draw as well heading to 2026. But without further ado, let's get into South Sydney Rabbitohs. So brought out my ladder predictor, felt like close to 2 months ago now, where I gave you my 1 to 17 ladder prediction. Very, very controversial, some of those calls in there. I can fully get that. I've got Souths coming in at 8th this year, just making into the top 8. Such a hard team to pick, though. If they stay healthy, as I said, there's potential of them making the top 4. If they get injuries like they did last year, like, it could be another bottom 4 season. It just could be. It's just so hard to pick. But I think they're going to have a couple of injuries throughout the season. I think Cam Murray is a huge, huge in for them this year if he gets through preseason. Touch wood. I've got them around that 8th sort of mark as well. It could be anywhere from 4th all the way down to 12th, 13th. Very hard to pick. I do have them playing finals footy though. Last year they finished 14th, as we spoke about. Absolute disaster year. They won 9 games and lost 15. It's hard to believe. You look at their full strength team, which I know they hardly play many, probably less than 5 games. I can count that they played a full strength team. And obviously they were that Cam Murray all year, so you can't really say full strength. It was just, as I said, disaster. To think this team lost 15 games is unbelievable. Points wise, for attack, they scored 427 for the year, which put them 16th. They had the 2nd worst attack all year. It's understandable. The halves are mixing in, changing all the bloody time. Like I said, they had different centers, different fullbacks. Harley had a forward pack. There was just not a lot of direction in the attack, and understandable why. Defense-wise, 608 points for the year. That put them in 12th. So, attack 16th, defense 12th, finished 14th. Seems about right to me when you look at the end of the day there. I don't think there's anything that was lucky or unlucky, really, when you look at that there. That was a points difference total of minus 181, which definitely would put them in the bottom 4. Wayne Bennett is obviously their coach until the end of 2028, so he's still got 3 more years left on his contract. All right, let's have a look at their 2026 games. They have had one of the better off seasons, I think, in the last few years, which is really good to see for South. I think in the last few years, they've merely kind of made some questionable signings. Just as I'm recording today, they have signed Matt Duffy, although he is signed to a New South Wales Cup contract. Although we know the rule, he's signed to New South Wales Cup. If there are some injuries in the first 10 weeks, he can actually get signed to an NRL contract after around 11, I believe it is. So, potential of him playing in the NRL, potentially, I think it's quite, a long way away, though. Interesting to see Duffy come back to Australia, particularly for New South Wales Cup, though, considering he's an Englishman. He's playing the Super League the last few years now. But yeah, just wanted to put that out there. First one, I think, is a pretty strong sort of depth signing. Adam Elliott, coming over from Newcastle, just a 1-year contract. I don't think he gets a starting role, and I think he's definitely going to be battling for a bench spot in here as well. When you look at South's full strength squad, it is deep, man. It is freaking deep. There's just loaded with talent there. There's plenty of players that should have their opportunity. A lot of good young guns coming through as well. At the moment, I do not have Adam Elliott coming through in the 17. Honestly, maybe we'll have a look at it later. We'll discuss a little bit later. Very good depth signing, I think, in my opinion. The big one, the massive talking point heading to 2026 is David Fifita. Gets pretty much the auto start there on that left second row spot. That left edge this year is going to be absolutely brutal on attack. You've got Cody Walker, you've got David Fifita, you've got Latrell Mitchell, and you've got Alex Johnson there, one of the greatest try scorers who will break the record this year as well. That is an absolute lethal left edge. Absolutely lethal. We saw what happened with when AKP was next to a fit David Fifita there on the left a couple of years ago, even a few years ago. He scored a bunch of tries. Then you've got Latrell Mitchell there as well. You've got Jai Gray running at the back. Then you've got arguably one of the best 5'8 playmakers in the comp as well, like Cody Walker when fit. He's absolutely awesome to watch. So all eyes are on David Fifita heading into 2026. For sure, absolutely, without a doubt. He's looking fit in the preseason, man. He's looking pretty good. We know the talent. I don't need to say anything about the talent that David Fifita has. Bronson Garlick, another depth signing for South there. He fits into that top 30. A guy that, can play a little bit of utility if needed. Honestly, with the way that South go with injuries, he'll probably get a run on at some point in the year. He does not make my best 1-17, though. Jonah Glover. If you have watched my Dragons preview, if you haven't, make sure to go check it out. Jonah Glover, come from the Dragons on a 2-year contract. One of the best halfback /5'8s coming through in the young guns, easily in the comp. He played a lot of New South Wales Cup for the Dragons last year. He's played close to 50 games, I think, for the Dragons in New South Wales Cup. Took them to pretty much the grand final overall. Took them to the New South Wales Cup grand final against the Warriors there, which they fell. But the big thing for Jonah Glover is he's going to be a man on a mission. He came out after he signed with South, and he said he hardly got a look in at Dragons. Despite how talented this guy is, did not even get a look in despite their half struggles there. Will we see Jonah Glover at some point in the season? Potentially. I think there will have to be an injury to South there. Maybe it's like a Jamie Humphries or a Cody Walker for him to get his shot in there. I'm very keen to see how Jonah Glover goes. 2 years now in New South Wales Cup. He's got plenty of experience. He's going to be awesome. I cannot believe the Dragons let him to go. I'll keep going on and on about it. You got MGT, Moala, Graham Taufa coming from the Warriors. A couple signings coming from the Warriors, actually. He's a really solid center. Played a lot of New South Wales Cup for the Warriors last year and the last couple of years and absolutely killed it. And then one of my favorite signings. My mate will be absolutely loving this. He's actually hating it because I give this guy so much criticism when he's at the Warriors, and that is Ed Kosi. Signed a 2-year deal with South. I will never forget it. He signed on my mate's birthday to South, and he's given me so much stick over the years about Ed Kosi. When he gets named, I have nightmares still about that Anzac Day game where Xavier Coates scored, I think, 3 or 4 against them. He had just had a nightmare game. Whenever I saw Ed Kosi get named in the Warriors lineup, I always got a bit scared. And the fact that he signed with one of my really good mates, their team, on his birthday was just like, it was such a highlight. It felt like my birthday, honestly. Ed Kosi doesn't make my starting lineup, but it's, you know what? It's not the worst backup in the world. Like, Tyrone Munro doesn't even make the 17. He'll get first running, but you could have worse backup wingers. Gregor, if you're watching this, I know what you're thinking. You can have worse backups, but Ed Kosi has signed a 2-year contract with Souths there. He'll be loving it, though, living in Sydney. Let's have a look at their 2026 losses. So, starting off the list, top of the list, Lewis Dodd. Got absolute stitched up last year, right? I don't know why he signed with South. He signed with South before Wayne Bennett was announced as coach. A year beforehand, and he just barely got a look in. There's so many chances when he did have a chance to start. He had a few starts. I mean, look, he was okay. He's more of like a game manager kind of guy. Didn't really break apart, a game at all. But I think he honestly fits really well in the Super League. He's just that kind of player, I think, from what I saw of him. I haven't watched too much Super League, but from what I saw of him in the NRL, he didn't light it up too much or really take advantage, but there's no point in him being there. It was pretty useless for Wayne Bennett. Saliva Havili, a little utility / lock / number 9 going to the Super League as well. Won't be too missed. He was in that sort of 9/14 role a little bit for the Rabbitohs, a little bit injured last year as well. Jacob Host, again, another one of my mate's really favourite players, heading off to St. Helens. How he got a contract with St. Helens, I will never know. Bit of a plotter, I think. I don't think Souths are going to miss him too much there. I think they'll miss this guy. Didn't play too much NRL for Souths, but Hazen Mellars, I absolutely raved about this guy in my Warriors preview. I'm so bloody happy we got Hazen Mellars. Whether he gets his opportunity NRL for the Warriors this year, I'm not quite sure. I hope he does. He's going to absolutely brain it in New South Wales Cup. Someone that's really strong under the high ball. If you haven't heard of him, you'll probably see him in the trials for the Warriors. He is awesome. I can't believe South let him go. Thank you very much. Shaq Mitchell, honestly, just probably not NRL standard. He's sided with the Tweed, so he's in Q Cup now. Yeah, Shaq Mitchell, I guess he probably just didn't quite have the fitness there. Davy Mawali off to the Storm. Again, kind of a little bit of a plotter. Just didn't quite reach his potential there at South. I have no doubt he'll probably reach his potential at the Storm, though. And then you got Michaeli Ravalawa off to Castleford there in the Super League. Probably fits him perfectly in the Super League. Just when he's on, he's absolutely on. When he's off, holy dooly. Kind of reminds me of Ed Kosi a little bit. Kind of gives me Manny Vatu vibes a little bit. Wow, that's a bit of a mouthful. When he's on, he's on. When he's off, oh my goodness gracious me. He should be going to play Super League or New South Wales Cup. That's their 2026 losses. Not anyone that's massive in there. They've still got your key guys. You've still got your Jai Grays, your Latrell Mitchells, your Cody Walkers, Jamie Humphries. Still got Keon for another year. You still got Cam Murray there as well. You still got Alex Johnson. You still got Campbell Graham. You still got Jack Wyden. I could go on and on. Like, Cheese is still there. You've got so much bloody talent in the squad. It's unbelievable. No one that on that losses really that's really going to like move the needle there in terms of a downward file. Gains wise, you got David Fafita there now. You got Adam Elliott to add a little bit there. Lot to be positive about for South. Signed Jai Gray until 2029. Rumors of him going to R360 as well in the offseason. He is signed for the next 4 years, which is really, really good to see for South there, just to lock him down. He is their future fullback. I do not think Latrell Mitchell is a fullback anymore. We've done the experiment. He's good. He's good, but he's just not great. He's just, his fitness level just isn't quite there. He was started in the NRL as a centre, as we know, with the Roosters, and absolutely killed it. He seemed to be fitter back then, but he put on a few kgs in a few off seasons, and you just see him not quite as active as a guy like Jai Gray. Jai Gray, for the size that he is, gets you close to 300-meter games, which I find insane for the size he is. Kind of like it's almost like a mini Brian Toto at fullback. He's unbelievable, Jai Gray. And that's why he's my starting fullback. So let's go through the best 1 to 70 and the rest of the squad. He's my fullback, Jai Gray, without a doubt. I think he should be the fullback at South for the next 4 years. I think that shouldn't even be a question. These talks I've heard, a bit of guru talking about, a bit of bloke in a bar, that when you get to close to final stage and maybe, Jai Gray has an average game, do you put Latrell back there at fullback? No, not for, if you're going to start in round 1, you stick with Jai Gray for most of the season there. And just because Latrell has a talent doesn't mean you should put him at fullback there. I think Jai Gray is actually a better fullback than Latrell. That means you're having to shuffle a bit around. You're probably having to take Jai Gray out of the team all up. You probably put, Campbell Graham back in the centers, and then you probably put Ty Munro back in the wing. It's just a bit of shuffling around just so you can get Latrell at fullback, which I don't agree with. So Jai Gray is my fullback. Let's have a look at the wingers. So I've gone left wing. Obviously, Alex Johnson had an Achilles injury a couple of years ago. Scored a bunch of tries last year. Once again, I think he is 3 tries away from breaking Kent Irvine's record, which is going to be unbelievable to watch. I'm sure he's going to do it against the Roosters. I'm sure NRL's got that scripted and ready to go. It'll be awesome to see. Alex Johnson's never really got his crack at Origin level before, but holy dooly, he knows how to finish a try. On your other wing, I've gone for Campbell Graham. Stretch. You felt so sorry for the bloke. He was out all of the 2024 season with a sternum injury. Was it last year? Sorry. Off and on last year with that sternum injury once again. And, he's had a cracker center season in 2023. Absolute cracker. He's awesome now. He's way too good to leave out of the side here. So I've got him there on the right wing. Alex Johnson on the left. Your centers, pretty obvious now. Left center is going to be Latrell Mitchell. We just talked about him before with David Fafita, Johnston, and Cody Walker. Going to be absolutely lethal. And then your right center, I've gone for Jackie Whiten. Formerly a 5'8" there at the Raiders. Played a little bit of 5'8" at Souths as well. But I think he's probably got to a point now where his defense is solid enough. You don't want to really rely on his kicking game too much, but he's a good enough center to have in that attack there. Really good running game. In your halves here, so I've gone for Cody Walker at 6, obviously without a doubt. I think when he's fit, still one of the best number 6s going around. He's just turned 36 as well this month, which is I find insane to think about. In your 7 role, he is not available for round 1, but I've gone for Jamie Humphries there at the 7. Probably the best looking bloke in the whole of the NRL. Oh my goodness, he's handsome. Jamie Humphries had a little bit off and on last year, but I think he is the guy at 7 there for Souths. You obviously got Ashton Ward there ready to go. And as I said, you've also got Jonah Glover there ready to go as well. Jamie Humphries will not be there for round 1. He is facing a suspension from late last year. So I'd say Ashton Ward will be in the 7 role unless they put Jack Wyden in the halves and move Ty Munro to the wing, Campbell Graham into the centers. I think maybe they'll just put Ashton Ward in for one game there. In your front row, this is a pretty beast front row. It's only going to last 1 year, unfortunately, but Jai Arrow. Jai Arrow seems to go so under the radar every year. He is just an absolute workhorse. a guy that was just not suited for second row on the edge there. He's a guy that he will take the tough carries. He wears the red and green with absolute pride. Jai Arrow gets my number 8 jersey, and then Keon Kolomatangi in your number 10 jersey in your prop there. This guy is a straight up middle. He's getting paid $1 million at Dragons to go be in middle next year for the next 5 years. He is not a second rower anymore. He is built for the middle. He could literally play Origin in the middle. He is an absolute beast. He was so good for South at the back end of last year when he went into that middle role there. Your second rowers are gone, obviously, David Theta on the left edge there. So someone who is coming in with, a bit of pressure on him, but if he looks fit and looks interested, which apparently from what I've heard he does, he will be unbelievable signing for the South Sydney Rabbitohs. On your right edge, I just think this guy deserves a starting spot considering how he finished last year, and that is Tallis Duncan. Oh my goodness gracious me. This guy was probably the best second rower, if not easily top 3 or top 5 in the last 10 weeks or so, 10, 12 weeks of the after Origin. He was unbelievable. Finally got to showcase the talent of Tallis Duncan. We saw a little bit of glimpses in 2024 and just a little bit here and there. We could see the talent. Kind of reminds me of like a mini Cam Murray in a way, just with what he does and like the body shape of him. I absolutely love Tallis Duncan. I think he deserves that starting role there. But, you could, who else could you honestly put there? There's honestly a few other options. You got Ewan Aiken there as well, potentially. And your lock role, touchwood, all going well in preseason. Cam Murray there, the captain of the side. He will fit in at lock, making his return. Full year off, has not played footy since the end of August 2024, which is huge. Has pretty much had 18 months off footy now, recovering from that Achilles injury. In your interchange role, in your 14 role, I've gone for Peter Mamazelos there. Oh, sorry, I didn't even talk about my hooker. Holy dooly, skip right past. Hooker, I've gone for Cheese starting. Sounds like Cheese will get the starting role, which I do agree with. Get the hard, yakka, kind of that sort of stuff out of him at the start of the game. Get the tough carries out of the way. Get him making tackles early on. We know he's been like a guy that's come off the bench and made a bit of an impact player. I don't really think he's that kind of player anymore, especially when you got a guy like Mamazelos there on the bench. If you're talking about who would I rather start the game, make the tough carries, and just kind of grind out, the high impact game at the first 20 minutes, it's Cheese all the way for me. Cheese has so much to prove. He's been pretty much on a downfall ever since he signed with the Roosters. Now he's signed with South, and he's just not been the same player that we saw him at the Storm. Cheese has got a lot to work on this year, but he can do it 100%. I believe in him. I said the interchange. Your replacement 14 is Peter Mamazola. So interesting to see how this sort of rotation works. Is it going to be 40-40? Is Cheese going to get a bit more? Does Peter Mamazelos come in after 20 minutes? Does Cheese go to like a sort of a lock roll, a bit of a forward roll after that for like 10 minutes or so, which we know he can? Plenty of options there. Honestly, the world is a bloody oyster when it comes to that. It'll be interesting to see what happens. Like, I'm very intrigued to see, but I do think Cheese gets to start. In your 15 role, I've gone for Tavita Totola there. So this is obviously a bit of a mix up here, right? You can go sort of any direction. You can go Tavita Totola. You can get, if you really want, Sean Kepi in there. You can get Liam LeBlanc in there. You can get Lachlan Hubner in there. There's plenty of options there, honestly, for South there. I've gone for, Tavita Totola, Junior Totola there. I've gone for Thomas Fletcher there in my 16 role as well. I think Thomas Fletcher is getting better and better every year, so really handy replacement to have. And in my 17 role, this is obviously a mistake on my part. I've got my Wiley in there, but I am going to obviously put Adam Elliott in there. So Adam Elliott will finish and pretty much be on the bench for me there. Really handy replacement. Cam Murray needs to come off. If Tallis needs to come off, the Theta needs to come off. He easily fits into that role perfectly, I think, for South. So really good depth finding, as I said. However, so that's 1 to 17 that I think we'll have a look at that in round 1 and for the rest of the season. Let's have a look at the rest of the squad though, because I spoke about how deep the squad is. It is looking bloody unreal. You've got Jaden Sullivan there. Bud Sullivan, we know he can be impact here and there. You got Liam LeBlanc, who we just spoke about before. Real handy young bloke up front. Sean Kepi, Cappuccino. We know he's been in that forward role. Kind of a bit of a plotter, but honestly not the worst backup if you do have some injuries in your forward pack. Lachlan Hubner, the starting 13 last year for South. Obviously won't be starting this year at 13 for South, but Got better and better as the games went by last year. Bronson Garlick, a guy that's been in the Storm system. He's got to know how to play footy. Again, handy replacement. Ty Munro. Ty Munro is an absolute freak winger, I think. Just needs to, just improve his finishing and just in consistency here and there. You could have worse replacements as your wingers, though, I think, if one of those two go down. You've got Isaiah Tass. I really rate Isaiah Tass. I think he's a lot better than what people think. Again, you could have worse replacements at center 100%. There's some teams that I've done that hardly have any backup at center. Spoke about him before, yeah. Ed Cossey. Again, not the worst backup winger you can have. You got Jonah Glover there as well. A guy that's just absolutely steamrolling through the ranks at the moment. You got Graham Taufa there as well. Really handy backup replacement. You've got Ashton Ward there as well. You've got Ewan Aiken. Ewan Aiken hasn't even made my freaking 17. That's how good this team is. And honestly, he's probably the next guy in, I guess, but this team is absolutely loaded. There's no excuses whatsoever for South heading into this year whatsoever. This team is absolutely freaking loaded. It is just no excuses. If they stay fit, they stay healthy, they've got new conditioning coaches, this team can go a long way. So bloody hard with the pick where they finish this year. Honestly, this team is just absolutely loaded though. Let's have a look at their draw though. They've got a pretty handy draw, obviously based in Sydney. They're going to play a lot of games in Sydney. So out of their 12 home games, they've got 7 at Accor, which I absolutely hate Accor. It's just the most emptiest stadium ever when they play there. I think they should play more games at Allianz if they can. They've got 2 games at Allianz though. They've got 2 games at Allianz. They take 1 to Gosford. They take 1 to Perth as well. And then they've got 1 at Magic Round. Their splits, they've got 1 game on Thursday, 4 on Friday, 6 Saturday, and 1 Sunday as for their home games. This team only has 6 return flights all bloody year. They spend the 3rd lowest time in the air out of any team, which is such a massive advantage. Hardly no travel. So they'll have to go up to Brisbane a couple times. They'll have to come back from Perth, obviously. Not a lot of travel happening there whatsoever for South. I don't believe they have to go overseas to New Zealand either. When we have a look at the teams they play twice, they play 5 of the top 8 teams twice from last year, which I always like to compare to just to see how the draw is lining up. They play the Roosters, obviously twice, Doggies twice, Raiders twice, Storm and the Sharks twice. So they do play 3 of the top 4 teams from last year. The only one that is missing there is the Broncos, that they don't play twice. In the bottom 8, the teams they play twice are the Dolphins, they play the Knights twice, and they play the Eagles twice, which, looking at that, I think Dolphins will be pretty good this year. I think Eagles will be improved as well. Probably Knights is only the easy one they get to play twice. So all up, they play the top 4 7 times. They play the top 8 13 times. They play the bottom 9 11 times, and the bottom 4 times. Obviously, they are part of the bottom 4, so they do get to play the Knights twice from that bottom 4 3 teams. They are part of the 1 5-day turnaround, so there's only a few teams this year that do have a 5-day turnaround. That is one of them. They do have a lot of 7-day plus turnarounds though. So what I mean by that, they go Thursday and then they play next week on a Saturday. Saturday, next week playing a Sunday. Not too many times where they go Sunday to a Saturday or a Friday. In terms of their buys, they've got a buy in round 4, a buy in round 13, and a buy in round 16. So that buy in round 4, just after 3 games, probably good just to see where their fitness is at, how they're seen sort of starting the year, where the halves combination is working. And then round 13, I believe that's after Origin 1, and I believe buy in round 16 is just after Origin 2, if I'm not mistaken. So don't get any buys during the 3rd Origin period. We have a look at their team and how it's going to be injury affected. You've always Origin affected. You've got Latrell Mitchell, most likely going to be there. Jai Arrow, potentially. Koloamatangi, potentially. Fafita, potentially. Cam Murray, most likely, I would say. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players that might not be there for Origin. 4, 3 ifs. I'd say Latrell and Cam Murray will be there. 3 ifs, definitely for sure, when it comes to the Origin period there. They do have a pretty brutal stretch of 5 road games in 6, though. So that will include, I'm not sure if a bye is in there, but they will have 3 road games in a row, which not too many teams had this year. A lot of teams do have 2 road games and then head back home. But Gotta love you and leave out. That is my South Sydney Rabbitohs season preview for 2026. I got them coming in 8th this year. A bit of an improvement on last year for sure. I don't think they could get worse. But had a look at their 2025 recap, gains and losses, and how their squad is looking. Their squad is deep. It's looking good. Apparently looking fit as well. They've got the Dolphins in round 1 up here at Suncorp. They're looking. I think they'll be improved, definitely for sure. No excuses in Bennett's second year for Souths there. The ceiling is sky high for South, so they could go absolutely anywhere this season. They're so bloody hard to pick. But that will do it for this week's episode. Oh, not this week's, but this season preview of the Skooshi Sport podcast, previewing the South Sydney Rabbitohs. Make sure you go check out the Broncos season preview podcast as well, coming out around the same time, and check out the other 12 that I've done as well. That will do it for me. Thank you so much for watching, and cheers.